Hi, my name is Brittany, and this is my testimony about how I was delivered from the New Age, the deception. Um, I have some notes I'm going to be looking at so that I can help reference everything because my memory is foggy, and if I don't write everything down, I might not get it all out. So, I'm going to start in April of 2017. I went through a traumatic experience and it destroyed my faith. Uh, it took everything from me, and uh, I realized that. So I wanted to try something to make it better. I needed to be healed for my family. At the time, I had 2 children, 2 little girls, and I knew that I needed to do this for them. So I went and I saw a therapist. She was great. I loved her. I saw a psychiatrist. I was just diagnosed with some post-traumatic stress syndrome and some leftover depression from when I was a child, from my childhood. That's a whole other story for another day, but quickly, I lost my sister when I was 12, and I lost my mother when I was 18. So there were things that I didn't deal with as a child after the loss of my family. So she diagnosed me with this, and I saw her every week because that's, you could pick how often you would see them. I picked that every week was going to be something that I kind of needed at that time. And everything was great. I was learning a lot about myself, about my childhood, about the trauma. And she then introduced me to an app called Insight Timer. And this app had meditations for everything. So I started using it faithfully. It became something that I really relied on, a big part of my daily habits. I made sure that I woke up in the morning and I meditated every day, and I did something different every day. That there were so many different ones you could choose from. And I started really enjoying it and really seeing some of the benefits, maybe. So I kept dabbling, and then one day I came across a video on YouTube. It was about the law of attraction, The Secret. It's a book and a movie, and I read it, I watched the movie, and then I lived my life by it. I went into it thinking that it was going to work, and this was going to be the thing that helped me heal from everything. It was going to be something that I could teach my children to use in the future, because I didn't want them to let their, the troubles in their life to overcome them the way they overcame me. So I thought that it would be a good thing for my kids too. So I did it for them. I did it for myself. And then I introduced them to it. I had them doing meditations at night, and they were doing some yoga. I was dabbling into many different kinds of New Age practices, and then, picking out which ones I thought were beneficial and light and love and things that would only help my family and myself. So the summer of 2017 was the summer before I got married, and it was busy. We planned our own wedding. I made all the decorations. It was us. We did the whole show. So it was really stressful. And I fell out of my daily habits, my meditating, everything that I was doing every day became less and less, but I was still doing it. And then the guilt came. There was an enormous, tremendous amount of guilt when I missed a day. I felt like that was so bad for my journey, so bad for, my children and my family. I wanted to really stand strong and firm in this for them. So yeah, I just remember the guilt. The guilt was almost overbearing. So we got married in November of 2017, and it was beautiful, and the day was great. And then after that, I realized, like, I need to get back to it. I need to get back on everything because it's really important to me. And I also had this really high ego of where I was going to save the world. I was going to try to get this in schools and, mindfulness and meditation is what I'm referring to. I thought it was so life-changing, and I was going to change the world. That's how big my head was. So I got back into it after the wedding, and I remember going so hard. The meditations went from 3 minutes to 20 minutes. I started cleansing my chakras. I opened my third eye. I was dabbling in everything. You name it, I was doing it. Pretty much. I was very interested in Reiki, crystals, just all of the occult. New Age is occult, if you weren't aware. A lot of the practices stem from Luciferian and Satanism, yoga, meditation, chakras, crystals, healing, energy, psychics, tarot cards, horoscopes, astrology. I mean, I was into all of it. Fortune tellers, you name it, I was into it. And that I was being deceived the whole entire time, because these things, they really do all stem from somewhere evil, something truly evil. And I didn't know, so I continued to do this. The law of attraction was the main one, because I started to see that it was working. It was working. The law of attraction is pretty much, if you see it, you think it, you believe it, you'll receive it. I introduced it to my husband. We were doing it together. We had vision boards. We had, everything that we had wanted, we were getting, truly. We were asking the universe for it, and we were receiving it. It was what I thought beautiful. The universe was giving us everything that we wanted, and it was, now that I think about it, it was so materialistic. It was so many things that weren't for the good of others, but for the good of us. It wasn't asking for things, that it should have been. It's very selfish. So I even tried, teaching this to my friends. I got some of them into it, regretfully, because some of them, they're still there. And it's just really, it's hard. It was so much. So I got into all of this. So I started doing meditations on the law of attraction to really start bringing everything to me. And I'd be here all day if I named everything. But we were getting money in the mail and just unexpected things that we were asking for that just shouldn't have came. As crazy as it sounds, the Starbucks that I lived near, there was a parking spot, or there was a parking lot, and it was impossible to even really get a spot ever. You would have to park across the street. It was a busy street, and I had 2 children. So I started manifesting this spot. We called it our spot. So every time we would go to Starbucks, I would use this witchcraft and I would get my spot. And to some people that might sound like coincidence, you were lucky. But it wasn't just Starbucks. And it was every time I got this spot. And it wasn't just Starbucks, it was everything. It was everything. Selfishly, if I if I had made plans with somebody and then I didn't feel like it, instead of trying to get out of it or just being honest, I would manifest it, and literally 10 times out of 10, they would bail, and I would be out of it, and I didn't even have to do anything. It sounds so wrong now speaking about it, but I have to tell the story the way that it's supposed to be told, because this is really important. So I guess the spring of 2018, I was having crazy visions and prophetic dreams during these meditations. I got spirit guides. I had spirit guides that would tell me things. They would show me visions of the future in these meditations. I once met with who I thought was an angel, and it seemed so pure and beautiful and like light and love, and that's the point. Lucifer, he's beautiful. He was the light bearer. He can make things look beautiful, and that's what this looked like. It looked beautiful. It looked like I could finally have that bond with the spiritual world where maybe I could reach out to my mom. I did a meditation once. Just thinking about it now is horrifying, but I felt her presence in the room. I had spoken with her. Now I know that it wasn't her, and I'm making this video, so if any of this sounds familiar to you, or if you can pull anything from this, even one single thing that might make you realize how wrong all of this is, and that really Jesus is the only way, the only answer. All of these paths lead to the same destruction. Jesus is the only one that can save you, truly. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand all of this, so I kept doing these things. I kept dabbling in everything. I started to research Buddhist temples. I was going to bring my family to the Buddhist temple. I felt that religion resonated with us the most, if we were going to be in any religion, but I kept trying to call myself a Buddhist Christian, which is such a conundrum. It's not a thing. They're just not the same, and that ended up kind of falling through, but we were still reading the books with our children. We were learning about Siddhartha and even dabbling in Hinduism and Buddhism, like just combining whatever we wanted. And that's kind of what New Age is. You can cherry pick what you want to do. You if you think tarot cards are evil, it's fine, you don't have to do them. But maybe the meditation, or maybe chakras, or Reiki, or something else sounds appealing to you, that sounds more like it's good, light, not darkness and evil. But they all come from the same thing. They all stem from the same tree. And I can't get into too much details, but I did so much research, and we'll get there. Okay. So, while I thought that I could change the world through this mindfulness and meditation for children, I didn't even realize also how big my ego was. It was ginormous. Okay. I had friends that I tried to cut out of my life. That's not me, okay? That's not... My friends have always, for the most part, been there for me. And I told them that, they couldn't understand. They weren't on the level of thinking that I was on. I was afraid that by being around them, they were going to bring me down of this consciousness, this higher self I was trying to achieve, this enlightenment. I thought they didn't get it. They weren't where I was, and it was hard to be around them. There was so much negativity. I was positive. It was horrible. It was horrible. And I remember telling my friend that once, and I was like, I figured out life. And she's like, what do you mean you figured out life? And now I realized, like, she was right to look at me like I was crazy. I mean, yeah, my ego, again. Well, a lot happened after that. But I was so prideful. I was so prideful. At one point, I remember thinking that I was a star seed. That's a thing. You can look that up. Yeah, I thought I was like some special person that was meant to do great things and to try to help the world. But it's so contradictory, because I wanted to help children in schools, and I wanted to help my family, and I wanted all this, but then I was shutting my friends out. I wasn't even giving them a chance. I wasn't trying to help them. It was very selfish. And I apologize to anybody that I may have ever felt, that I have ever made felt small or anything. That was never me. Maybe it was my intentions then, but it was not who I am, who Brittany is. I mean, even my husband, I was telling him, you're not meditating enough. Your troubles at work, you're not meditating enough. You're not manifesting enough. You're not teaching your guys about it. If you teach the guys at work about it, maybe, how powerful all of you could be in this business. And yeah, so it was terrible. It was really horrible of me. And so, just checking out my notes here because I don't want to miss anything. Okay, this is where it starts getting emotional. And I know I've already teared up a lot during this, but this is kind of where I started to realize what I was doing was wrong. So going back to the law of attraction and manifesting, I had a week. This was in a couple months later, after the summer. I'm not sure. It's all jumbled up, but so it was a couple months later, and we went. Well, no. First, I had a week where everything that I was thinking, even negatively, okay, not everything, a lot of things, that the negative thoughts that I was having, the fears that I was having, those constant fears in your head, they started happening in real time. They started coming true. Two of them were like irrelevant. They were small. And then I started kind of questioning, like, wow, my thoughts, even my positive thoughts are, making good things happen. But my negative thoughts, they're starting to make things happen. Well, this can't be good, but I didn't completely fully comprehend all of it yet. So we went to our friend's house and we took our kids, and they had just gotten I don't know what these things are called, but a go-kart thing. It had a protection on top. It was safe. Her husband is a mechanic. It was completely safe. There was nothing wrong with it. The kids went around with the adults first, then by themselves. Not the youngest ones. My youngest was 4 at the time. And I remember thinking, I don't want her to flip. She's gonna flip. Like, I know that it's gonna flip. And I kept trying to push the thought out of my head, because at this point I had known that some of my thoughts were coming to reality. So I kept trying to push it out, and it just kept coming back. She's gonna crash. It's gonna flip. Something's going to happen. So we're getting ready to leave. Everything was fine. I was like, okay. And she asks our friend, can I go on one more time? So she goes on with my friend, and they get on it, and they go around, and then as they come back, as I'm thinking it happened, and luckily she was okay, but they flipped, and it was terrifying and so scary. And I remember thinking, I made that happen. And that's when I knew something's not right. Something's not right anymore. I don't know what's going on. So after that, I kept practicing. I stopped using the law of attraction. I tried. It was really hard, because when you're in that much control of your life, when you can just make things happen at your will, and I know this sounds crazy, but there's witnesses like can testify for me. It's hard to let go of that control that you felt like you had, but you really didn't. It wasn't you, and it wasn't God. I was messing with evil spirits, and I didn't even know it. And so many people are deceived. And that's what God says, for my people will be deceived by lack of knowledge. And I lacked this knowledge, and I lacked knowledge in the scriptures, because if I had just read my Bible, I would have seen that. And I would have seen, it's very clear. The Bible is very clear. You are not to participate in witchcraft or divinity or fortune tellers, psychics, mediums. And I was dabbling in it all. A glorified witch, but I didn't know it. I didn't call myself a new age practicer. I didn't call myself a new ager. I just knew I did these things, and that I was going to help people, or so I thought. But now I can see, because it was April of 2020, when things were getting crazy in the world. And my grandmother had a fall, and she broke her hip, and then while being in the hospital, they actually found kidney failure. Her kidneys were failing, and she wasn't going to make it, much less, well, she wasn't going to make it. They were considering dialysis, but the diagnosis was pretty clear, pretty evident. And, she's really the only mother figure that I'm very close with, that I have left. And I couldn't bear the thought of losing her, especially at a time where I couldn't go visit her at the hospital. So I got down on my hands and my knees, and I prayed so hard. For the first time in a long time, I didn't use the law of attraction. I didn't meditate it away. I turned to God. And He answered my prayers. Even after all that I had done against Him and sinned against Him, He answered my prayers. And she was fine. She didn't need dialysis. She left the hospital a couple days later. And she's still doing great now. And I owe Him everything for that, when I didn't even deserve it. So I didn't really know how to feel after all this. I was unsure. I was still doing some meditations, and my kids were still doing it, and we were doing yoga and chakras and crystals and all of that. And one day in June of 2020, I came across a video, and it said, "Why the law of attraction is evil." And I kept scrolling past it. I kept scrolling by. I wasn't going to watch that because I knew it wasn't, except I should have known that it was. And so, excuse me, I skipped over it. Had to be 3 times within a week. It kept popping up, and I was like, no. Finally, a week later, I'm like, you know what? It must be meant to be. I don't understand why it keeps popping up. I'm gonna click on it. So I clicked on it. I believe the video, it was a girl named Roka, and she changed my life. She changed my entire world. And she got deep into it. She did the research, before I didn't even know. So she had done all the research, and I learned through her, and then I confirmed the research on my own, so that I knew I wasn't being deceived yet again. And lo and behold, The Secret and the law of attraction and so many of those things, they actually lead right back to people like Anton LaVey and Helen Blavatsky, I believe I'm saying, and the motto of the satanic cult, of the occult, and I was deep into all of this, so deceived. And I guess I'm doing this because if I can help just one person, if something here sounds familiar to you, I wish I had somebody that would have told me this. Or I did. I had God. He pointed it out to me, and finally He showed me. And so I got rid of everything. She went into it all. Everything that's attached to the New Age and the occult, and portals for demons to access you. Evil spirits that you think are spirit guides, they're not. They will turn on you. They turned on me. I was a faithful practitioner of this for 3 years, and that's not even that long compared to some people. Some videos I watched, they went through it worse, but when I left, they're not happy with you when you leave. So I went through spiritual warfare, and the Bible also talks about that. Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So I went through a spiritual battle, and I'm still going through it to this day, because believers and people that are born again, and especially within the New Age, they know that it's an everyday battle. It's something that's going to be a part of our life. It's going on all around us all the time, but at least we're aware of it now. And I know what to do. Jesus is the answer, and he showed me, and I didn't even deserve it. I didn't deserve it. I am not worthy of his forgiveness. We're all sinners in this fallen world, and I'm not perfect, and I'm not pretending to be perfect. This isn't some, not like it was before. It's not that I'm not better than anybody, but I've had this realization, and God opened my eyes, and I want to open the eyes of everybody else and the ears to hear, to really truly understand what people are getting into with this stuff. It's nothing to mess around with. I was physically tormented, trouble breathing. Felt like they were sucking the life out of me for weeks after I renounced the New Age occult and I turned to Jesus and became born again. I was delivered by the grace of God, and then I was attacked. There were so many relationships and friendships that were just so not what they were not what they should be. Things were happening to me that it was just one thing after the next. I was having thoughts, so many thoughts. The enemy will attack through thoughts for sure, and I was having thoughts, trying to tell me Jesus isn't real, and well, what about this, and question this, and just constant thoughts that I know were mine, and I know that they were not of God, and it's hard, but it's worth it, and this is my journey, and this is my story. And me and my family all turned to Christ in June of 2020, and we're raising our children in him. They're completely devoted to him now, and I hope that they will have this experience, not the same way when they are older, but that they will be born again after they realize all the mistakes they've made. The New Age stuff isn't the only mistakes that I've made. I've made a lot. I've sinned a lot, and I've fallen short of the glory of God so many times. But the whole point was that his mercy and his forgiveness is unending, and he can forgive you, and he can bless you and help you move on and heal. Most importantly, healing. He's the only way. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one goes to the Father except through him. He says, surely you must be born again to enter the kingdom of heaven. And I want the same thing for my family and friends. So as awkward as this is, and so out of character for me, I felt that I couldn't hide it any longer, and that I needed to share it with not only them, but with the world. I guess I'm going to end this with a prayer. It's the only way I really know how to end it, because I wouldn't have anything I have, if it wasn't for Jesus. I wouldn't have been delivered if it wasn't for him. And now I'm faithfully in my Bible every day. I'm faithfully in the Word, and it's very, very much harder to sin when you're walking with God every day. And it's beautiful, and I want that for everybody. So if you can maybe use any of this, or take this to a friend, or just pray about it. If you feel like I'm wrong and you're not sure, just pray about it. Just ask God. He will reveal it to you. He will. He's so faithful. And I'm going to end this here. Heavenly Father, I want to pray for all of my family and friends and strangers watching this video right now. I pray that they may come to you and seek you only, because none of those other things can give them true peace and happiness the way that you can. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, I hope you enjoyed my story. Thank you.